Hey, and we're here at Stanford at the MedtechVISION conference, and I'm thrilled to announce that Annie Buckman has decided to sit with us. Thanks for sitting down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, that was an easy decision. So, I don't know much about your history with your organization, so let's just start there. Have you been to a conference before of MedtechVISION?
Yes, so I learned today, and I couldn't remember, that the first meeting was in 2011, which was the year that I moved to the Bay Area from Minneapolis. And so I didn't attend that year, but beginning in 2012, I was introduced to the conference by a mentor of mine. So I joined in 2012 and every subsequent year. So I am especially excited to be back in person this year. I joined the virtual program last year, but it's such an energizing meeting, and I've not only enjoyed it myself every year, but have tried to advocate for as many additional women that I know to join over the years, just because it's been so impactful and inspiring, really.
All right, so let's go down that path a bit. So you've seen all of these technically.
Yep.
How has it evolved into, and I'll give you some specifics on that because that's a broad question. Evolved to the point of how it feels this way, this festive kind of engaged, compelling, everybody seems to be in love. Like, how has it evolved to that? Because I can't imagine the first time it was like that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think initially, and they talked about some of this today, Deb and Amy talked about the evolution. And I think they touched on some of this, but I would say for me, probably the most palpable evolution has been, it started out as an event. And it was a really exciting and great place to gather and talk about trends and innovations in the space. And like a singular day and evening before to connect with the community, build your network, meet people in person that you hadn't had the opportunity to meet previously. So it was really this crescendo of the year. And over time, as they highlighted, I think they recognized that there was so much more of a demand for that connection that I think it's transitioned from a really high quality, high caliber event to a year-round community, and more of a family of people that don't rely on the singular event, but really look forward to it. And I'm happy to share more about that, but I would say in aggregate, that's I would say the biggest evolution.
Well, that's really well said, because I've always felt that things like this are a compounding effect, that if you find reasons to keep speaking to people, whether they're in the organization or to somebody who's not about the organization, what it does is it continues feeding that feeling. So you're not waiting just for this one time to give hugs. It's now every time you see somebody, there's a certain camaraderie that comes along with this that I've never seen before. And I've been to, I don't know how many conferences. I mean, you and I both have been to a bunch where it's just work. There's none of this vibe at all. So with that, one of the pervasive pieces that seems to always be a part of this organization is the concept of reaching back and saying, okay, I have kind of achieved some items that I was aspiring to, but somebody either helped me or someone didn't help me, and I want to help someone else get to the spot. So I'm curious your thoughts there and subscribing to that kind of mentality of, okay, how do I help somebody who's right out of school or somebody who just hasn't had their opportunity yet kind of accomplish some of the things that I've already been able to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's very much about paying it forward, or I guess paying it backward.
Yeah, probably both.
Yeah, probably both. So much like many of the people here today, I have very much been supported by, and my professional, personal, human development has been buttressed by really generous people throughout my career. And so one, I think it's our responsibility to share the learnings and the stumblings and the accelerations that we've had in our individual paths, again, both professionally and personally, with those just getting started or kind of midway through their careers. But I also think it's incredibly fulfilling. I don't see it as a responsibility exclusively, but an opportunity, because someone mentioned it today. I think the curious people are in a perpetual state of learning and growing and wanting to evolve. And so in many ways, I think that even when you've achieved certain things professionally or personally, like there's always more, how you want to expand. And the world is changing so fast. So the stagnancy is like not an option. And I think we actually have equally as much to learn, if not more, from the subsequent generations.
Absolutely. We've got interns now working at our place, and they give suggestions on things that I never had considered.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
you think? And they just so confidently go, yes. I'm like, okay, look at this. And so it is great. I love that there seems to be no difference as far as age and experience in this group. Everyone seems to take value from everybody. So with all of this great vibe that's happening and everyone feels so empowered, what happens tomorrow? Like, how do we continue this vibe and this momentum in a tangible, actionable way? Like, I don't know what happens where you work or for you personally or just the organization as a whole, but what else can we do or continue to do to keep this rolling?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think that, when Amy and Deb spoke today on their reflections on this community and this event over the past 10 plus years, really, with COVID, they were talking about Ginger Graham and how one of the things she said was never stand still. And I think that could really be a core tenet of how you exit these meetings, is keeping that front of mind. So two things. One, I think a tremendous amount of the value in a day like this or a summit meeting like this is it takes everybody out of their day-to-day, like physically transplants you to a room where you talk about macro trends and innovation and real people and real patients. And no matter what your work is, it's all connected somehow, but like you rarely get this occasion to take a step back and think big picture. And I think that it roots you in why you're doing the work that you do and fuels a tremendous number of ideas for like how you can create more impact, think differently about the things that you're doing, and infuse that into not just your current workplace, but probably other parts of your life as well. Like, it's a really impactful day that I think breeds energy and ideas. So I think in the simplest way, it's like, how do you bottle that and take it with you to, the next thing that you're doing, or like you said, tomorrow. But I think the more pragmatic, perhaps, way that I look at it is, how do I identify bite-sized pieces that I can bring to my day-to-day? So for example, and it wasn't even because of today, but in anticipation of today, I carved out an hour with my team when I'm back from vacation, where I said, let's just sit down and talk ideas. Because we're like so in the throes of like our priorities, which are copious, and I would argue not priorities. The process and the structure in which we work, like the day-to-day, and we never take a step back to just say, let's just think like white space. Like, what are the highest priority things that we're doing? How can we think differently about impact to patients, impact to the people that we work with inside our organization, and impact to the business? So that's one specific example, but I think it's just a refresher to say, how do you create space to have environments like this on a more regular basis?
Well, this is the ultimate reinforcement of that it works. I mean, think about how good this feels.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a complete validation of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, because everyone who's coming in and out of here has a big smile on their face, and they're just so engaged. It's really compelling.
Yeah.
And I mean, all the conferences I've been to, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's pretty
Most
special.
time it's just kind of work, right? You go, you do what you got to do, and you go home. You can't wait to go home. Here, I think everyone's going to hang around. I don't know. We shall see. Maybe it's the architect in you, building things out one step at a time.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about considering taking this to a different level at grad school, undergraduate, and high school, for having this message filtered down so we don't have to wait till someone's 27 to hear this and to know this? And I don't know what it's like. You grew up in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like there, but here, because the Bay Area is so successful as far as with just corporate women are everywhere, and so daughters are seeing their moms do it all the time. But I'm wondering what you think about from a school standpoint. Does Medtronic or does this group do anything in relation to university or high school level?
So, MedtechWOMEN, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure. Medtronic, where I work, we do a couple of things with college level. We have structured internship programs, but I will say that most of the internship programs for undergraduate education are on the technical side exclusively. So when you get more into kind of the business or kind of customer-facing parts of the organization, those are typically like graduate level, like internships and rotational programs. So I think there's an opportunity there. And on the high school side, the one thing that I know Medtronic does, and there might be additional things, is robotics, which is also
Really?
a technical program, but groups of engineers will coach these high school robotics teams. And so it's about innovation and building, and they're like these sprint efforts towards, technical solutions.
Do you think there's inclusion in there and making sure that this is spreading to everyone at the school?
I don't know, but I think because they are both the undergraduate internships and the high school robotics program are really geared towards students with an interest in or pursuing an education in the technical fields. By nature, it is segmented that way. So I think back to your original question, is there an opportunity for this at different scales? I think the answer is yes, because what you don't get an aperture into as like a high school student is what you could do beyond the like very clearly delineated roles, right? Like traditionally, like you could be a physician, you could be an engineer, you could be a lawyer. You only know what you have observed or seen on TV. And I think creating a forum where you could provide exposure to how a lot of these things intersect, and we're even talking about that in there right now, like these convergent technologies, but convergent fields, because the world is happening that way. Tech is intersecting with technology, engineering, medicine, business, regulation, that I think, and I don't know what that looks like, but I certainly think there's an opportunity, and I think it's something that would be great for MedtechWOMEN, because I think there's definitely underrepresentation of visibility programs for females, for sure.
Well, it's just starting earlier so it becomes normalized faster.
Yeah.
And boys too.
Yeah.
And if you get that message out, I think waiting till everyone's in their mid to late 20s is just,
Too late.
to me, it's 10 years later than it needs to be. I have a daughter who's 18, and I would love for her to have this message and to know that not that there's no limits, follow your dreams nonsense. I mean something tangible, saying, look at me. I'm doing exactly what you're thinking about. And I just think it gives people something to hold on to when they're trying to figure out their life and saying, well, I just met this woman, and she's doing all the things that all interest me for a living. Like, how great is that? So anyhow, well, look, it's been a pleasure. I figured you'd be great for this. Thanks so much for sitting down.
Thank you. I think it's great that you're doing this.
Well, it's going to do everything that I think we've imagined from the beginning, which is just compiling this consistent message of how important this organization is and what can be done to just continue the effort and not just have it one day a year.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things that really stuck with me, just in closing,
Please.
The keynote speaker today, she ended on it was do it, afraid. And I wrote that down, and I've been thinking about that since she said it. And I was also thinking about what you might want to talk about today. And I realized that you leave a forum like this, and I feel like the language is do it afraid, sure, but do it educated, do it energized, and do it empowered. And I think that is the ethos of this organization and this meeting.
Yeah, it seems like this keynote speaker should speak everywhere because everyone's come out with this just amazing impression.
Magnetic.
Yeah, I don't know. She can moonwalk. We saw it.
Oh, really? Even better.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so
Good.
much, Annie. It was
Thank
great to see you.
Yeah, and thank all of you
Yeah,
as well.
and we're out.